Hey, Rick Usabel again from Cabaret Design Group, talking today about direct draw draft beer system design.
In terms of the other type of a system that I was talking about earlier, the popular beer wall that you see out in various places, it's typified by a whole number of faucets that you would see on the back bar, which should look like this. This particular arrangement shows 48 faucets. On the other side of the wall behind it are all your barrels of beer. The whole idea is that much like the direct draw cooler, these barrels are connected to these faucets through a very short distance, and so short, as a matter of fact, that this wall that I'm showing here is actually the common wall to the back bar is the wall of the walk-in cooler. We have to do it this way because if you have another building wall that separates these two, you can end up with excessive foaming due to the fact that the shanks that are on the back side of these faucets penetrating the walls, these are all uninsulated. So if you add any amount of distance to this picture, what happens then is disaster, because you're going to have sputtering, you'll have foaming, and you will have mildew and mold buildup in these faucets. A lot of problems associated with this. So some engineering, when you go into a system like this for a beer wall, it has to, a significant amount of attention has to be given to the common wall of the cooler, which is typically beefed up. It's laminated with a decorative architectural metal or some sort of a finish which hides it. It hides it because the walk-in coolers, in their inherent nature, are rather industrial in look in their appearance, and wouldn't have any particular appealing effect aesthetically to the bar itself. Therefore, when you are talking about a beer wall, it has to be the entire walk-in cooler has to be incorporated into the envelope of the bar design right here, or it simply doesn't work. So if you have the space in your establishment to facilitate this, you're in good shape. Now, I typically don't like showing draft beer being dispensed from the back wall. Why? Because I'm a proponent of having all the beer faucets on the front bar. Of course, that doesn't really work with a walk-in cooler or a direct draw system. I'm using this as an example. What we have here is really what I would call a hybrid system, because you really don't have, you're sort of trying to promote your profit model by featuring alcohol-based drinks here, and you're trying to also show a lot of craft beer here. The two don't really work very well hand in hand, at least not in this context. Because again, like I say, bartenders need to be working efficiently from side to side as they move back and forth in the shortest possible distance. If you place barriers between them and reaching their product, or you don't have enough available call and premium liquor product on the back bar, the whole thing falls apart, really, in my opinion. But I think in the context of this design, of this system that we're considering today, I think another alternate approach might work really well. And I've shown it here. It's shown like this. So what I've done is I basically reduced the number of faucets from 48 to 14, and then I'm showing the tiered liquor displays at each end of the back bar. Therefore, approximately 1/3 of the back bar would be dedicated towards draft beer. If you'd like to see what that looks like in elevation, I've drawn it over here. Looks like this. This has a sort of aesthetically appealing look to it. A lot going on, but people don't really notice it. They don't know the difference. But here again is your 14 faucets. And on either side, you would have your tiered bottle displays with liquor shelves above all three cavities. This, I think, is a doable. It's a very good alternate solution to the beer wall. The beer wall works in bars where you're featuring craft beer, and that's your primary mission. If you're trying to make alcohol-based drinks and derive your profit model from that, then to have half the back bar or the entire back bar shown dedicated to draft beer itself doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So therefore, you end up with sort of an alternate approach. The only other approach for doing this and showing a lot of draft beer would be to have a glycol system whereby your beer towers are located on the front bar, which is a very popular approach and one I'm a very big proponent of. Having everything in front of the bartender, to me, as much as you can put in front of the bartender to doing their job without having to turn their back, is really the optimum of all bar design. In terms of pros and cons, the pros of the draft beer wall systems is their extreme reliable delivery, lower cost than the comparable sized glycol systems, very little waste. Also, you can infinitely expand them with as many as some craft beer bars will show as many as 90 selections. The cons are they take up a lot of space along the back bar, which you already covered, and they require this walk-in cooler to become part of the design. If you cannot incorporate this idea into your particular arrangement, then it doesn't work. For that, we can approach it a different way. We can go to a glycol system and give you every bit as reliable of delivery, slightly greater cost, but that's really the trade-off in the way I see it.